Roxo Media House. From the Flying Tea Club studios at Roxo Media House, this is Frogs Today. Melissa Triebwasser weighs in on TCU women's basketball. TCU golfer Gustav Frimodt joins us. And TCU baseball starts this weekend. Jamie Plunkett gets us caught up to speed. Plus David Beaudin on the football recruiting calendar. And now, here's your host, the voice of the TCU Horned Frogs, Brian Estridge.
Welcome into the Wednesday edition of Frogs Today. I'm Brian Estridge. Thanks for joining us here. We got a lot we're going to get into. We got some men's golf coverage we got to give you a little bit later on. We're talking football recruiting and the calendar change as well. That's going to come up. Plus, we get you ready for what's happening as far as college baseball is concerned. It cranks up this weekend for TCU. And the men's and women's basketball teams in action. You got both golf programs getting after it. Tennis just finished up the indoors season. Track's underway. I'm telling you, it's a fun time of year right now. But we start the show by celebrating a Super Bowl champion. Lucas Niang, the former offensive lineman for the Horned Frogs, a member of the Kansas City Chiefs. So big congratulations to Lucas and his Chiefs for winning that Super Bowl over the Philadelphia Eagles. Pretty good football game, was it not? But good to have a Horned Frog there representing TCU. Lucas Niang doing that for the Horned Frogs in that Super Bowl. We start our conversation today talking a little women's basketball right now. We do that with the coach, Melissa Triebwasser. She joins us right now. Melissa, this team currently sitting at 6-18. They've lost 13 straight in Big 12 play. The one thing I notice, though, is I continue to track scores here. What I find interesting, though, is I check these games, and every game it feels like through three quarters, the Frogs are right there with these Big 12 opponents. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's been really impressive is despite, like you mentioned, a 13-game losing streak and the struggles in Big 12 play, I mean, this team continues to play really, really hard. Almost every game at the half, they've even been able to kind of keep competitive through the third quarter, but they just seem to run out of gas and kind of get out-talented down the stretch. But it's not for lack of trying. There's a lot of veteran players on this squad. There's a lot of grad transfers playing significant roles. And so I think that that's kind of helped with the maturity level in the locker room. This is not a team that's given up on the season. It's a team that's playing hard. They're just having a lot of trouble getting over the hump and getting in the win column.
Yeah, the other thing they have going against them is they're playing in maybe the toughest women's basketball league in the country in the Big 12. I mean, this league is outstanding.
Yeah, I mean, it's deep top to bottom. You don't see as many of the ranked opponents as we've seen in a normal Big 12 year, but what it is super, super balanced. I mean, a lot like we see on the men's side is there's not a game that you're going to roll into anybody's arena or even host at your own where you can say, oh, this is one that we can check in the W column. We've seen upsets up and down the conference. We've seen kind of teams kind of rise out of nowhere. Kansas has had their moment. Oklahoma obviously has looked dominant at times. So there are programs all over the place that are capable of winning this league. And there's also just a ton of talent. It's a well-recruited conference from top to bottom as well, and such a hotbed for women's basketball talent, in the DFW area and throughout Texas. And so you're not only up against well-coached programs, but you're up against talented teams and environments that are some of the best women's basketball environments in the country.
Yeah, coming up this Saturday, by the way. They don't have a midweek game this week, but coming up this Saturday, they get a chance to take on a quality team in Kansas State. Jeff Mittie, obviously the head coach there. But this is a game where you kind of circle this one on the calendar. If you're going to snag one, this would be one to get, right?
Yeah, I mean, you've gotten the week off. You've had the bye week. You have a chance to kind of rest and heal. Reagan Heabley, I think, is a great in-season adjuster. She's a great practice coach. So I think that they will be ready for this one. There's a lot of emotion still, even though these players are long removed from the Jeff Mittie years. This has always been a series that has been a little bit extra competitive and had a little bit extra juice. And so I think with the home environment, that the TCU fans come out and support, give them a little bit of a home crowd advantage there. This is a chance for them to kind of get off the schneid and get a win in Big 12 play and avoid something that nobody wants to see. And that would be, a winless conference season.
Yeah, this is one of those, you look back at this program and how good they were the year of COVID. And when that tournament got shut down in Kansas City, and I remember that day specifically, I mean, this was a team that was set up to make a deep run in the NCAA tournament, were they not? And that day, the program seemed to suffer and not be able to come back from it.
Yeah, I mean, it's been just one of the most disheartening things is to see a program that finished second in the Big 12 that year, that looked primed to make a Sweet 16 run, that had the veteran guard play, that had the bigs inside, that had a superstar in Lauren Hurd. It looked like they were not just on the come up for that season, but the foundation was there to build that program. And since that point, I mean, it's been frankly a collapse. You've seen players leave. You've seen Peely, to her credit, has tried to do the best that she can. She's really worked the portal this year. She brought in a lot of that veteran talent. It just hasn't come back together. And one thing I think that she has been exceptional at is building team chemistry. And the season following COVID, there were a lot of issues. It was not a team that was playing together. And so she remade the roster on the fly. Then she remade the roster again on the fly. And the thing that they're looking at this offseason, your 4 leading scorers are all grad transfers. Mm-hmm. So you're going to be remaking the roster again on the fly. And I think it just comes to the point to where, how do you balance those incoming freshman talent, that high school recruiting, and they have a great one coming in,
yes,
with needing to patch some holes with those veteran players, but hopefully veteran players that have a year or two of eligibility. But it's going to be hard to recruit to a program when you've had the kind of season, unfortunately, that TCU has had. And so, we don't know what the future is going to bring here, but you hope that they can kind of get back to the foundation of what made this program so strong and enable them to build up over that 3-4 year stretch to get to that 2020 year. And hopefully you can kind of get them back on the right track and building to being not just a competitive team in the Big 12, but a team that can kind of go into the postseason and make some noise. And Peebly certainly has shown that she can do that previously. It'll be interesting to see if there's an opportunity to do that this season as well.
Yeah, and it all starts this Saturday. An opportunity to kind of get it back going against Kansas State. It's a 5 o'clock tip, by the way, at Showmy Arena coming up on Saturday. Melissa, always appreciate the insight and the time. Thanks for hopping on with us.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Brian.
All right, more to come here on Frogs Today. We kind of turn our focus now to what's happening as far as TCU men's basketball is concerned for the remainder of the week. We'll do that after we do this. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU, both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime, and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
This is Cowtown Headache Center, a neurology clinic that specializes in headache medicine. We offer standard oral medications, we offer trigger point injections, we offer multiple nerve blocks, we offer infusions both for prevention medication and for acute relief. My name is Andrew Levere. I'm a physician assistant that has a special certification from the National Headache Foundation in headache medicine. Patients are pretty shocked when I tell them we have tons of options for them and that we can do better than what they're doing. I don't just tell you, here's one medicine we're going to try. I'll give them options, and then ultimately we choose together as the provider and patient. It's very satisfying to know that we're changing people's lives.
Next up on the tee box, from TCU, please give a warm welcome to Gustav Frimodt.
Welcome back into the Flying T Club studios. Time to learn a little bit more about a student athlete right now. This guy's he's had one heck of a week, as a matter of fact. Maybe one heck of a year so far in 2023. Gustav Frimodt joins us from men's golf. He's a Denmark native, but we've adopted him here in the state of Texas. How you doing, Gustav?
Doing great.
Good to
see
you,
Thanks
man.
for having me.
All right, I got to get this right because the last 10 days have been like Hawaii, Fort Worth, Pacific Palisades, California, Riviera, Country Club. I mean, am I right about this?
Yeah, it's been all over the place. Yeah.
You guys as a team were in Hawaii for a tournament, obviously, that ended up getting canceled. But, man, y'all were playing good. You were tied for first when it was canceled, right?
Yeah, we started off really good. Well, first day got canceled, and we tried out again the next day where we started off really good and tied for first after some holes. So, obviously, it sucks that it ended up that way. But, it was just impossible to play in that wind.
I was going to say, did I read where there was like 30-mile-an-hour winds? Is that
Oh yeah, well it was gusting up to over 60 miles an hour.
Seriously?
So, yeah, so the balls were rolling on the greens. And
I can imagine that affects the game a little bit.
That's hard.
But it was Pepperdine, Stanford, Texas Tech, TCU all tied for first when it ended. Did you guys feel good about it going in?
Yeah, no, I think our team this year is great.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going into this year with some pride, and we want to show ourselves out there, and I think we're ready to do that. Especially we've got a lot of older guys on the team now with some experience, so I think we can go out there and do some good things.
I get the sense too that you're kind of flying under the radar, that people aren't necessarily paying attention to TCU golf just yet, and you want to change that, am I right?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We want to do that.
Also, I mean, there's a long, storied history of postseason here at TCU. I know you guys want to get back to that, don't you?
For sure. Yeah, I mean, Bill, Coach, he's been just going to regionals for what was 31 years in a row, and I mean that's a pretty amazing stat to have, and we wanna get him back and end that on a good note there. Going to regionals and nationals after that for sure.
It's hard to find a better dude than Bill Monagle, isn't it? I mean, he's amazing. All right, let's talk about what you got to do last. So the Hawaii event got canceled. Then you get invited to the Genesis Invitational, which is a collegiate showcase that takes place out in California. This is an invite-only deal, right? So you got to be one of the best of the best, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get it through. So basically, it's like through TCU.
Yeah.
And they get to go out there and bring one of their players and play with. We played with Tom Hoagie out there.
Not bad company.
And Eli Cole and Adam Rubinson.
Okay.
So we were playing this foursome out there, and I was playing my own score, and they had their own best ball kind of scramble thing.
Okay. So you get to play with a pro, a current PGA pro, and Tom Hoagie, pretty good at that. I mean, won the Pebble Beach last year, and then you play with what are referred to, I guess, as two amateurs.
Yes.
Is that right? And so
It's
Eli and
two,
Adam counted as that.
Yes, it's two former golf players. They actually played here at TCU.
Yep.
Very good golf players, both of them. Adam Rubinson, phenomenal golf player.
Two-time All-American.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eli Cole, great golf player as well.
I think won the Canadian Amateur.
So, I mean, it was a really good team we were on. That's for sure.
Yeah, and knowing that group, knowing Hoagie and Eli and Adam, there was probably a little talking going on while it was happening too, was there?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. No, it was a great time. They all know each other really well, and I appreciated just being a part of that. Get to meet Eli, and I know Adam a little bit, and I've played with Hoagie once, I think. So it was awesome.
Did Hoagie give you any advice? Did you guys talk about the next level and maybe how to prepare for it?
Well, I mean, not much, because I was out there, you know.
Right.
I was competing. I was trying.
You were playing.
I was trying to win something out there, you know, and so not much talk were going on. I was obviously trying to focus and so on, but I was obviously taking notes from the way he was playing and just, you know, learning from one of the best. It's always awesome to be able to play with someone who's at the level you want to get to. You know.
What impressed you most about Hoagie's game?
His driving.
Really?
Oh yeah, he was straight.
Yeah.
He'd hit a bad shot and it would be like 5 yards off line, and must be pretty nice.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah. So you, by the way, you finished in the top 12, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I finished. So I was 2 shots out of the playoff. Shot 2 over. Wasn't the best performance I've made for sure, but it was just great being out there. You know, finished. I'd say fairly close to having a chance at it, but got a couple mistakes early on. Never really recovered from it, so that's how it goes sometimes.
That's right, it is. That's why it's golf. That's why you get back out there the next day, right? You guys are back at it on the 20th, I think, is the next tournament. Where are you headed? Do you know?
Yeah, we're going on Saturday. We're going to Palm Springs.
Okay.
Playing the Prestige out there in Palm Springs, and then right after we're going straight from Palm Springs to Las Vegas, where we're playing the Southern Highlands Collegiate.
So I mean, it's a heck of a life. If you want to, folks, come back as a collegiate golfer. I mean, it's Hawaii, it's Riviera, it's Palm Springs. That's a lot of fun, man. That's a good thing that Coach Monagle has done over the years. He's got you the best tournaments, right?
Definitely.
So give me some sense now. You talked about the fact how the team getting along well, great chemistry. Give me a couple of names of guys we need to keep our eye on.
Well, Jacob, my fellow Dane on the team, Jacob Skov, he's been playing really good over the past few months. Just watching him in practice and qualifying and so on. Amarick, he won our little Winter Cup. He did really well in that, so I feel like we can watch out for him as well.
Good.
Definitely, those two players are really good, and then we got Brandon Massey, who's been playing really good lately, making it on the team, and I think that's awesome for him. And
Everybody's playing well right now. Gotta like that. I gotta ask you this because I think I talked to you about this the last time you were here. You love Texas, right? You love being here.
Oh, yeah.
What do you miss most so about Denmark?
I mean, my family, obviously. I just called my brother and sister today. It was their birthday today. So
awesome.
So obviously that's just always something you miss.
How about food-wise? Is there any food that you miss?
I don't know. Obviously the food we get for Christmas back home is awesome.
Yeah.
It's like a roast pork kind of thing with glazed potatoes. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, but you've adapted pretty well to the Texas menu.
Oh yeah.
You've
unfortunately.
Yeah, right.
I feel a little bit.
You found some good Mexican food here. Yeah. Okay, good, man. Awesome. What do you do in your spare time outside of golf? I mean, what are you into?
I mean, hanging out with my friends is just obviously a big thing. Hanging out with my girlfriend's awesome.
Yeah.
Like.
Where's she from? Where's she from, by the way?
She's from Mississippi.
She's from Mississippi. Awesome. Good. Yep. Yeah. You're getting the full-on cultural experience, aren't you?
Completely.
I love it. Have you been back to Mississippi? Have you been there?
I went there, visit her parents a little. Yeah, that's right when we started dating.
Yeah.
And I went to Florida with them for a week, and she's been to Denmark too. And,
awesome.
It's great.
That's awesome, man. Good for you. Well, I appreciate you making the time, man.
Yeah, of course.
Congratulations on being invited to that Genesis and the
you.
performance there, and looking forward to that event coming up out in Palm Springs too. We're going to keep our eye on you guys. We're pulling for you, man.
Thank you.
And you know you're playing for one of the best guys in the world.
Oh yeah.
Bill Monagle, he is the
for
best.
Sure.
All right. Gustav Frimodt joining us here on Frogs Today. Coming up next, we're going to dive into a little college baseball. It cranks up this week for the Horned Frogs. Jamie Plunkett is covering Kirk Saarloos' team. He's going to join us next when we continue with the midweek edition here of Frogs Today after this time out.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today. We got a lot we got to get to still here on this Wednesday edition. We got some football recruiting news we're going to get to here shortly with Coach David Beaudin. Right now, though, we're getting ready for baseball. It is here. All of a sudden, this weekend, TCU baseball takes the field. Jamie Plunkett covers them for us here at Frogs Today and FrogsToday.com. All right, give me some insight into how things have gone here over the last several weeks for Kirk Saarloos' team. I know we're going to talk to him on Friday, but you've had a chance to talk to both he and his staff. How do they feel about things?
I think they're feeling really confident. You know, they're talking as a coaching staff and as a team about having Omaha level chemistry for this program, which is something that we haven't really heard from Saarloos or even Jim Schlossnagle over the last couple of years. And I think that stems from a couple different places. First and foremost, some of the guys that they brought in from the transfer portal. We've talked, I think, recently on the show about Trey Richardson, Austin Davis, Ryan Vanderhey, that trio of Big 12 transfers that have come in and made a really big impact right away. And then you've got probably one of the most elite freshman classes coming in across the country, specifically Anthony Silva, who's going to be the starting shortstop for the Frogs this year, and Carson Bowen, who's going to relieve Curtis Burnett, catcher, some this year, along with some really talented arms as well. Luis Rodriguez and Chase Hoover are two arms to pay attention to. So there's a lot of hype outside of the program, but it feels like the confidence internally is starting to build too.
John DeLora has lived on the road recruiting. He's done a pretty good job restocking this roster. A roster, too, that is sort of, I'm not going to say it's dwindled, but it's pared down a little bit after COVID. And you get the sense that everybody there wants to be there, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, TCU is one of those programs nationally now where that's the goal for a lot of players. That's why you see guys transferring in from other Big 12 programs. It's why you saw this summer, less than a week after TCU was eliminated from the College Station Regional, they had their first transfer commit. Right. Because TCU is one of those ideal places that kids want to play. They've seen the product on the field over the past few years, and they've seen that guys can take their career from TCU and turn that into a professional career. How will the style be different this year? Do you get any sense of that right now? I think when you think about the hitting style, there will be a little bit of differences. You know, TJ Bruce was recently on with our boys over at the Lupton Drinking Club. Right. And part of what he said there was about how he wants the guys to be prepared for any situation. You know, previously with Mosiello, who's the head coach at Ohio State now, there was seemed like he was always kind of adverse to bunting and playing small ball and really just getting runs across when he needed to. And that's not going to be the case with TJ Bruce. TJ wants to hit for power. Right. He wants to steal bases and be aggressive, similarly to Mosiello. But I think there's more of an adapt to the game as it comes to you style with Bruce that we haven't seen in past. Almost like we saw with Sonny Dykes at times in the football season this year, where he said it multiple times. You know, the Texas game, the Baylor game, we threw out the game plan and just went with what the game was given us. I think we're going to see a lot of that from TJ Bruce in this lineup this year. I like that. All right, so it cranks up this weekend. Obviously, we're going to have, as we mentioned, Coach Sarlo's going to be on with us on Friday. Give me some sense of what this tournament this weekend is like at Globe Life. You know, it's kind of a benchmark for the Frogs to open the season against three SEC opponents: Vanderbilt on Friday, Arkansas Saturday, and Missouri on Sunday, just to kind of see where they are. You know, you're a top 15 preseason team, and now you're going to go play some other top 15 preseason teams and see really where you match up. You know, I think it'll be a really good opportunity for the Frogs to see what they have in their weekend rotation, which is probably their biggest question mark at this point. Ryan Vanderhey and Cam Brown are two guys who, if they put it together, are going to be some of the best in the country, but we haven't seen that from them yet. So this will be a good opportunity for them to go out against some good talent and show that they're taking the step forward this year. You've mentioned it every day in the office this week, so I'm going to give you a chance to brag on some of the changes we see at the stadium, because I know that Lupton Stadium and what they've done with the turf area looks a little different for you, huh? You know, they've replaced that turf and foul territory, which they desperately needed to do. I got out there the first day of spring practice, and they had just installed it a month prior, and so the first person I went over to talk to was Curtis Byrne. See how he felt about it, since he's going to be spending the most time back there. He was really appreciative of it, but I mean, if you go out there now and you look at it, it looks beautiful. They did the right thing where they extended that warning track down the sidelines, down the foul lines a little bit more, so guys have a little bit more of an indicator of when they're getting close to the wall, which I think will be helpful. And it's as pristine and as up to date as any fake grass turf is these days. So it should be a pretty good playing surface for the Frogs. Everything else, though, is still all natural. The dirt's still there. The grass in the outfield is still natural as well. So it's a pretty good combination they've got going. All right, you're going to be with them all weekend, right? All weekend out there at Globe Life for the College Baseball Showdown, baby. All right, great. You can catch it all at frogstoday.com. We'll keep you up to date on our social media channels as well. Make sure you're subscribing to all of those. Jamie will be covering the Frogs and baseball all season long. Football recruiting is a 365-day-a-year job. Did I do that right? Did I say that right? 365 It's not days a leap year, right? A year? I don't think. Anyway, it's going on all the time. David Beaudin works it every day. He's got an update for us on what's happening as far as the recruiting calendar is concerned. And we'll get with Coach Beaudin next when Frogs Today here on the Wednesday continues after this timeout. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club,
or online at flyingtclub.com.
This is Cowtown Headache Center, a neurology clinic that specializes in headache medicine. We offer standard oral medications, we offer trigger point injections, we offer multiple nerve blocks, we offer infusions both for prevention medication and for acute relief. My name is Andrew Levere. I'm a physician assistant that has a special certification from the National Headache Foundation in headache medicine. Patients are pretty shocked when I tell them we have tons of options for them and that we can do better than what they're doing. I don't just tell you, here's one medicine we're going to try. I'll give them options, and then ultimately we choose together as the provider and patient. It's very satisfying to know that we're changing people's lives.
Midweek edition, Frogs Today. Right now, we talk a little football. That's right, we can't get out of here without doing that. Football recruiting feels like it's every day, as we talked about, every day of the year. There's something going on. But what has happened is the calendar has changed a bit. Many of you have seen it already at frogstoday.com. Coach David Beaudin got us up to speed on those changes as far as football recruiting is concerned. I want to give a little tease of that and encourage folks to go to the website to see it, because we talked last week, the football staff had a couple of days off, and that would have never been the case in February in years past, right?
Right, it wouldn't have. They did get a few days off right after signing day. There's a little bit of a lull there, a dead period, where they can't have contacts with the recruits. However, when you look at the flip side, they've lost their summer essentially, right? So with official visits and everything. So they do get a couple days, but I mean, for a lot of them, it's the first couple days they've had, since right before camp, and so it's a grind, as we know, and so it was much needed, I'm sure. You know what?
Someone pointed this out the other day. It may have been you in the office. We were talking about how you think about the fact that these coaches have to work 7 days a week, essentially, because you got game planning during the season, preparation, obviously recruiting goes on, then recruiting picks right back up again. But what you don't think about are the ancillary personnel.
That's
who
right.
have to be there as well, 7 days a week, and they're not necessarily making the big bucks, but their commitment level is pretty impressive.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And we actually had a former FBS head coach talk to Frogs today, sort of off the record, but wanted to say, like, look, when you sort of petition to these leagues, these different conferences, and say, hey, we need to do something with the calendar. And we can get it, in the article we talked about Coach Sonny Dykes and Kirby Smart at Georgia. They both spoke about this right before the national championship. But this particular coach said, look, we get paid a lot of money, right? I still want to be a really good husband, a really good father, so we do need some time because we need to protect ourselves, right, from ourselves.
Right.
But the thing is that staff member that's in academics that needs to be there every weekend for these visits to present exactly what the program has in store and has to offer, they may be getting paid $35,000 a year, top end, right? And so for them, that's where they really need, the legislation needs to come in to protect those folks who don't have necessarily the resources or get any time off.
All right, so give me some sense. Here we are in February. What happens from, all right, so now you're going to, obviously you're getting ready for spring practice, but what's the recruiting calendar like here in the spring?
Yeah, so right before the dead period, they had a big junior day. As we know, we had guys stop by the Flying T Club studios here, and so that was a lot of fun. And we were rolled into actual signing day, which no noise there, right, because of the early December period. And now really, they get into spring recruiting. They'll get back out on the road. They want to prepare for that. They'll get out, and there's a big period heading up in May, end of April, beginning of May. But in the spring, the head coaches aren't allowed to go out on the road. Just the 10 assistants they hired. The reason for that, and of course everything has unintended consequences, right? That's the problem. But the reason for it, at least initially, was when Nick Saban was flying in his helicopter and landing, it was a disruption to classes, and they're trying to limit that. But again, other things fall into place and you end up. So that's one big thing. They also have the mega camp here that first weekend in June, which logistics it's a logistical nightmare. So they'll have schools from all over the country, thousands of kids. So they got to get prepped for that, and a lot of offers will go out during that time, and then that rolls right into official visits. And so official visits now are happening, the bulk of them in June. And then, kids are making decisions after their junior year, going into the senior year. By the end of that summer, most of them are committing verbally, and then they'll sign in that early December period.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. We're talking predominantly there about high school kids.
That's right.
What's happening as far as the transfer portal is concerned right now?
Yeah, that just kind of compounds everything, right? And so for those guys, it's a little bit more loose, right? For we've talked about this, but for the national championship, that Wednesday leading up to the game, they hosted, I think it was 7 different transfer students on visits, right? So they had those guys in while they're trying to prepare for the national championship. And so this is the juggling that's going on. And Coach Dykes talked about this during that press conference before the national championship and said, look, we have to protect ourselves from ourselves, because if we're allowed to do it, we're going to do it, right? We're going to be out there. If there's a kid to be recruited, there's a phone call to be made, a visit to be had, they're going to do it, because if not, somebody else is. And so they've got to find a way right now. He also mentioned that everything's just a hodgepodge, right? You've created this new signing day, but there's a ripple effect. And they haven't gotten it, smoothed out yet right now. It's just sort of all over the place. And what it's created is just a nonstop, as you said earlier, 365-day, barrage of recruiting. And so they've got to find a way to get these guys some time off.
Let's be honest, you have to love it. You have to love recruiting, or it could be miserable for you. The good news is the staff seems to love it.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, they live it, right? And so, and not only do they live it, their families live it, right? As we know, Miss Kate Dykes is heavily involved in recruiting. She's building relationships with these prospective student athletes as well. And so it's an all-in thing for families, and it's something that it's really got to be part of your lifestyle on a day-to-day basis.
Because it is day-to-day. That's for sure. Thank you much. By the way, you can find out more details on that at the website, frogstoday.com. Coach David Beaudin details what that recruiting calendar looks like right now. All right, that's going to do it for this edition of Frogs Today. Big thank you to Coach Beaudin, to Jamie Plunkett, and Coach Melissa Triebwasser as well for joining us. Gustav Frimodt, men's golfer, who had a big week as well. Coming up later on in the week, we'll get you ready for those baseball games this weekend out at Globe Life. Also preview the Frogs and Oklahoma State and men's basketball on Saturday. Pivotal one coming up on Saturday. We'll have highlights as well of TCU versus Iowa State, which happens tonight in Ames, Iowa, in Big 12 action. Reminder, we want you to subscribe, we want you to like, we want you to share, we want you to comment on our YouTube channel and on our website at frogstoday.com. Subscribing, though, the most important thing. And share, by the way. Let your folks and your family and friends know all about Frogs Today at frogstoday.com. For our entire crew, thanks for joining us here on the midweek. See you back here on Friday with another edition of Frogs Today.
Frogs Today is brought to you by the Flying Tea Club, supporting TCU student athletes, and by Richard's Rainwater. Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Frogs Today is a production of Roxo Media House.
Roxo Media House.